On the 25th of February 2021, a 5-year-old boy was on his way to visit his father for the day. His grandmother was dropping him off, and the boy's name was Jack Ponomarenko. The father's name was Mathew, and he was expecting his son's arrival. Mathew had only just recently been discharged from a behavioural health centre, and he was deemed well enough that they did not prescribe him any further medication. When Jax was dropped off, Mathew seemed to be calm and functioning well. Mathew had a long string of drunken disorderly charges and had a bad relationship with alcohol. In 2017, he was found guilty of child endangerment. He had taken a mixture of alcohol, PCP, meth, and mushrooms. The police found him with Jax, who was only 1 year old at the time. Jax was totally naked, standing in the middle of a road with cars passing him by. Jax's grandma had called the police saying her son was having a severe mental breakdown, and that he was running and swearing at people driving past him. The small 5-year-old boy was autistic, and he struggled to speak, but he had learned to use a tablet to communicate with people. Now, on this day, the father and son were in the house alone together, when something truly disturbing happened. Mathew entered the room with a baseball bat in his hands. He then walked towards Jax and began to violently bash him in the head. He then made this 911 call.
911, what's the address to your emergency? And what's the problem? Tell me exactly what happened.
I just killed my son.
What do you mean you just killed your son?
I'm hearing voices.
Oh, okay. How old's your son?
6.
Where's your son now?
He's dead.
Dead where?
In the living room.
All right. Do you have any weapons?
Can you just send in cops?
Yeah, we're doing that now. What's your name?
Mathew Ponomarenko.
I'm sorry, the first name?
Matt.
Matt? Spell your last name for me, Matt.
Ponomarenko.
What's your son's name?
Jack.
Jack?
Jax, Jax.
And you said you're hearing voices?
Yes.
All right, how did you kill your son?
With a baseball bat.
You killed him with a baseball bat?
Mm-hmm.
And why did you kill him with a baseball bat?
I don't know.
Was there anyone else there with you and him?
No.
Okay. All right, Matt, we've got some units on the way, okay? I want you to stay on the phone with me. And when did you do that? Matt, when did you kill your son? Matt?
Yeah.
When did this happen?
I'm shaking.
I understand. When did this happen? Matt? When did this happen? Do you have any other weapons in the home?
No.
And when did this happen? Okay. And when did this happen, Matt?
It's truly haunting to hear a man speaking about killing his own son, and just hearing him say it in his own words is beyond disturbing. And it kills me to think of how scared Jax must have been in those final moments, seeing his own father approach him in a crazed state. He also calls his son 6 years old during the call, but he gets his age wrong. His son was actually 5 years old when he took his life. And as you can see in this picture, he has his son's name tattooed above his left eye. I'm unsure why he didn't want to tell the operator when he had killed his son, but I'm guessing it's something that he never thought he would have to say. The officers arrived at the property to discover the small child's lifeless body in the living room. I can imagine that it's a sight that will stay with them for some time. Jax's brother made a heartfelt statement saying that he was the best brother he could have ever asked for, and that he was looking forward to him growing up so he could teach him how to play basketball, and that he will miss running around the house with him. The judge overseeing the case has stated that the death penalty is a very possible reality, as is life without parole. Mathew is currently on extreme suicide watch. A mother's love is said to be like no other, and for a woman named Tatiana Pyanova, this was true. She was described as somebody who would move a mountain for her only child, who was named Kristina. Well, that was true, until something truly disturbing happened. Tatiana was found running in the streets with a knife in one hand, and a bag dripping with blood in the other. This case takes place in Ukraine on the 30th of April 2020. Tatiana was a 38-year-old woman who lived with her daughter and her brother. Tatiana was not a particularly wealthy woman. She worked 3 jobs to support her daughter, but her brother didn't work. They lived together as their parents had passed a few years back, and they both inherited the house. Tatiana and her daughter were incredibly close. They went on holidays together, cooked meals for each other, and Tatiana always made extra effort to attend all of Kristina's school events, and she basically lived for her daughter. Kristina was a 13-year-old girl and was described as a cheery normal teenager who was very bright and took her education at school very seriously. There was absolutely no indication of what was to come. On the 1st of May, Tatiana was found walking down a street with no clothes on. When the police managed to arrive at the scene, they found Tatiana naked, running around the street in a deluded state. She was covered in blood and she was brandishing a knife. They also noticed that she was clutching onto a plastic bag, and inside this bag was the decapitated head of a teenage girl. Tatiana refused to explain anything to the police officers. It was the day before, on the 30th of April, that Tatiana took a knife and stabbed her daughter 20 times all over her body. She then used the knife and began to cut and remove Kristina's head. Tatiana's brother came home to discover the decapitated body of his niece. Neighbours that knew Tatiana claimed that she was interested in practicing magic rituals and witchcraft, and that she also claimed to be a psychic. There were other neighbours that confirmed this to be true, stating that they knew that she had performed some rituals. I am unaware if this is genuinely true, as there are some conflicting statements from other people that knew her. There were no screams that came from where the family lived. Neighbours didn't hear anything suspicious during the time when the murder would have taken place. The court ruled that Tatiana was suffering from a chronic mental illness, which made it impossible for her to realise her actions, and Tatiana has claimed to have no recollection of decapitating her child. People that knew the mother and the daughter were shocked, and they refused to believe it at first, stating that Tatiana must have been drugged. Sometime before the murder of Kristina, Tatiana said that she had been talking with her father, but as I mentioned earlier, Tatiana's father had been dead for a long time. She was showing signs of delusions way before this happened. Tatiana was the only person who worked in the house, and her friends later said that her brother used her for money. He constantly held drunken parties in the house without the permission of Tatiana, and it also came out that her brother constantly beat her. Tatiana would often ask the police for help, but nothing was done. It is believed that this could have been the reason why Tatiana had a psychotic break. There are pictures available on the internet of the bag that Tatiana was holding, and they are easy to find. I'm unable to share them as YouTube will remove the video. There are some interesting internet theories involving this case. Tatiana's cousin murdered both his father and grandmother 15 years ago and was released in 2020. Some people believe and have theorized that Tatiana came home to discover her daughter murdered at the hands of her cousin, and that is this that made her snap. These are of course unsubstantiated claims, and I never usually give these things much credit, but I found it rather interesting nonetheless. Tatiana has now been hospitalized in a psychiatric clinic, and if the treatment proves to work, she will be released in the future.